Y'all know what time it is. Let's go.
Go, Pack, go!
Hey! Go!
Pack,
Yeah!
go, Pack, go!
Oh, man. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. I am normally Bryson Carver right now and later in the show. I am Cheesehead Ozzy in the building today. Man, it's been too long. It's been all the way back. It would have been after Baker touchdown maker and the Buccaneers hung 34 on Green Bay, and Baker had a perfect pass rating back in mid-December. But I was off in the happiest place on earth, the most magical place on earth in Orlando, so I didn't get the chance to. I didn't bring the Cheesehead and the shades. But I am Sharon. Listen. I think it was the week before, after they lost to the New York Giants and Tommy DeVito on that Monday Night Football game. It's been too long. It's been that long since I've been able to come out of the shadows and have some fun today. Listen, I know Packers fans out there. It's been a rough day. It's been a rough weekend. But don't worry. Got some optimism and cautious optimism, but nonetheless optimism coming your way. There's no doubt about it. We're going to have some fun today, though, because in all seriousness, well, I can't be serious if I have foam dairy on my head. If you can, let's take that off. Let's put the Grid Network hat on. Shout out to the Grid Network. Take the shades off. We'll bring those out later in the show. But listen, we've got a fun show on tap for you guys tonight. Okay, gonna get into the Detroit Lions making the NFC title game. Who could have possibly predicted that before the season? Find out the answer to that. You probably do, but find out the answer to that later in the show. We're going to have some fun with that, obviously. Also, the Baltimore Ravens knocking off the Houston Texans. Folks, at this point, if you doubt Lamar Jackson, I don't know what you're watching, and I say that as a Steelers fan, but I've been a Lamar guy for a very, very long time. Also, getting into the 49ers, obviously taking care of business, and something Brock Purdy did that I've been skeptical about for a while. Can he do it? Is he capable of doing it? Will he show me he can do it on Saturday night against the Packers? Also, getting into, of course, the Chiefs win over the Bills in just a moment. But obviously, everybody, feel free to chime in the comment section. A lot of fun show tonight. We're going to get into a lot of things. There's no question about that. If we can get, hopefully, a better Wi-Fi connection, it's just plagues us from time to time. Hopefully, we can get that taken care of in short order. But in general, a lot happened over the weekend. But first, y'all remember in grade school, really any level, college, high school, junior high, middle school, but really great, like, lower elementary school, potentially, any level, there's always that one kid in class that just knows the answers to every question, and they almost get on your nerves after a while. It's like, dang, they know the answer to every single question. What is up with these people, right? And maybe one day, despite long periods of success, months of success, a lot of A+ on their test, maybe one day you get a better grade than them. Or better yet, you get an A- and you're feeling beside yourself. They get an A+, A- themselves, and it's like, could have done better. That, my friends, is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. The Chiefs are the smart kid that knows the answers to every question on the test, and the Bills are far from dumb. They're not, this dumb's a wrong word to use. Far from, not succeeding to the level that they want to in school, but also, they're just not that one smart kid that knows the answers to every question. That's where we're at with Kansas City, Buffalo. Folks, it was never a rivalry from the jump. From the jump, it was never at any point a rivalry between the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, Kansas City got the win last night, 27-24 over Buffalo. And listen, by and large, Buffalo played pretty well throughout the course of the game. They didn't turn the ball over. Kansas City did. They averaged about 5 yards a carry. Josh Allen threw large stretches, more on him a little later in the segment, was great. Made a third down play, third down and goal from the 13-yard line to throw to Shakir. That was phenomenal. Made a lot of great throws throughout the night. By and large, pretty good night for the Bills. Gave themselves multiple opportunities to win at points. Overcame the fake punt, which was a curious call at best. I get them going for it, just not in that scenario. In order, and they got the stop on McCole Hardman right after that at the goal line. But doesn't it seem like the Chiefs, just like any dynasty, seem to flip a switch when the playoffs roll around? Just like you do and I do in life, we flip a proverbial switch when we're at work or at school, how we conduct ourselves. We conduct ourselves and, again, flip another switch when we're around our family. We flip another switch when we're around our friends. We flip another switch when we're around maybe people we don't know as well. We conduct ourselves in different ways. We're the same person, but there's just certain ways to go about things. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. And that is, that's Patrick Mahomes, who is not the greatest quarterback ever. That title belongs to Tom Brady and likely will for some time unless Mahomes keeps doing what he's doing. Can we see Patrick Mahomes' stats? By the way, this graphic provided by my man Alfred Parsard Jr. of the Grid Network. Shout out to Alfred. He comes up with these graphics the last few weeks. How about Mahomes' playoff career? That's pretty good. Yeah, 13-3, 38 touchdowns, 7 picks, completes about 66.8% of his passes, 285 yards per game, and a pass rating of 106. Folks, that's his playoff averages, or in general, in terms of record touchdowns, interceptions. Like that's what he's done over the course of his playoff career. He's literally an MVP quarterback. You look at those numbers. That looks like MVP numbers from some of Aaron Rodgers' years, heck, some of Mahomes' years. That's Tom Brady's MVPs, Peyton Manning's. That's usually what they look like right there. Mahomes turns into a different quarterback come the playoffs. And in terms of the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, they're on the same level or similar levels, folks, that was always nonsense. Absolute nonsense, not based. In fact, that's not to say Josh Allen is not incredible, elite, phenomenal. Made a couple plays with his arm, his legs. I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. And he is. He ain't that dude in Kansas City, though. Because the fact of the matter is, all time, as we sit here today, this is subject to change, obviously. All time, 3 dudes are above Mahomes. Their last names happen to be Brady, Montana, and Manning. The first one, of course. You're like, Bryce, are you sure? How about this, folks? Peyton Manning has 2 Super Bowls, 5 MVPs. Ties Mahomes in Super Bowls, has 3 more MVPs. Mahomes has a ways to go. If Patrick Mahomes wins on Sunday against the Ravens, or whenever his next playoff win comes, he'll tie Peyton Manning for playoff wins, and Peyton played 18 seasons. Mahomes is in year 7. 6 as a starter. That's unbelievable. Josh Allen is amazing, a phenomenal talent, really, from an arm perspective, an all-time talent. He's not Mahomes, and Mahomes has outplayed him in every single playoff game. Let's look at the first one. We have it. Is this 2020? Yes, 2020 AFC title game. Mahomes had 3 touchdowns. Allen had 2. Mahomes had no turnovers. Allen had 1. Now, Allen had more passing yards, 375 to 330, but Mahomes had a better completion percentage, passer rating, QBR, and of course, he got the W. But you know what? It's Josh Allen's first AFC title game. It's the first time the Bills have gotten there, I believe, since the 90s. The Chiefs were the defending champions. Like, the Chiefs were supposed to win that game. They were expected by most, including myself, to win that game. Just didn't come as a surprise to really anybody. The Bills will be back, right? Well, they were. 2021, they matched up with the Chiefs, and that was when Mahomes put together that all-time, and Allen, by the way, put together all-time performances. Both had 4 touchdowns. Both had no turnovers. Allen beat him in passer rating, and Mahomes also won in yards, completion percentage, QBR, and he got the W in the end. And then this year, the ridiculous notion that Josh Allen was somehow playing on a similar level to Mahomes, or about to get to a similar level of Mahomes. Yeah, that got debunked again, despite the fact that he was at home with the running game, best running game he's ever had, despite the fact that the Chiefs fumbled at the 1-yard line. We'll get into some of that stuff later. Allen had more touchdowns and yards. Both had no turnovers, but Mahomes had a better completion percentage, passer rating, QBR, and got the W. Mahomes has outplayed Allen every single time that they have faced off. Comparing Mahomes and Allen to Brady Manning is a disrespect to Brady Manning. I'm talking mid-rivalry. This is before Peyton got his second ring. This is before Tom reeled off those Super Bowls at the end. Tom had the rings. Peyton had the trophies. Well, Mahomes has both. Allen has neither. How on God's green earth are they on the same level? That's what has bothered me about this narrative for the longest time. Even CBS. Let's not take a shot at CBS. Great network. Nats, Romo, Wolfson. They do a phenomenal job. But they run this promo showing this Peyton Manning, Colts and Broncos highlights and Brady Patriots highlights, and them shaking hands at midfield after a hard-fought playoff game, whether it went one way or the other. And they're showing Mahomes and Allen great playoff performances and them shaking hands in midfield, except every single time Patrick probably had a smile on his face about 5 seconds after the smile, and Allen was disappointed because his team wasn't able to come out with the W. It can't be a rivalry. I've said that this is not just this rivalry, I say in air quotes. I've said this about Warriors-Grizzlies. Said it about Warriors-Rockets. Remember Warriors-Rockets back in the mid-2010s? They faced each other in the playoffs in 2015-16. Rockets had their moments, but Golden State was the way better basketball team, won 8 of the first 10 playoff games that those two faced. Houston will be back. They retooled. They got Mike D'Antoni. They got P.J. Tucker and implemented Clint Capella into their starting big, and they traded for Chris Paul. And in 2018, listen, they put a scare in Golden State. They did. They made things a little tough on the Warriors. And then Golden State, deep breath, reel themselves back in. They blow them out in Game 6. The Rockets gagged from the three-point line in Game 7, and the Warriors capitalize, and they win the series. And then the next year, things don't quite go Golden State's way. How do I know that? Because Kevin Durant went down in Game 5 with Steph and Clay having a poor shooting series. And it didn't matter because they have the championship medal, championship pedigree, things we consider kind of cliche, but they matter in these moments. When a team keeps getting you over and over and over, doesn't it kind of become a head thing at that point? Doesn't it become something that kind of sticks in your craw in the late game situations? You tell me, do you see Josh Allen's body language and Sean McDermott's and Stephon Diggs and all the star players for the Bills? Didn't they look kind of tight? And when it comes to cold weather, they're used to cold weather. They blew up my Steelers in cold weather last week. You saw Mahomes, Kelsey, not Jason. He was having a good time. Travis Kelsey, the whole Chiefs, Andy Reid, calm, relaxed, composed, because they've been here before. And they've been here before numerous times against this team. It's what they do. They're the dynasty of the NFL. Listen, will they win in Baltimore next week? I don't know. Baltimore, to me, feels like the better team. More on the Ravens later. Baltimore has been the best team really from start to finish. If you look at the totality of the season, they had the best defense of the league, the MVP of the league, John Harbaugh. Who knows? Here's what I do know. If the Chiefs lose on Sunday to Baltimore, it'll be the worst season, tied for the worst season in the Mahomes era. It would tie also for being the Bills' best season with Josh Allen. Mahomes Allen is not Brady Manning. It's more like Brady Roethlisberger or Brady Phillip Rivers. I think Josh Allen's better than both, but that's kind of where we're at in terms of the comparison meter, or wherever you want to put that. It's a disrespect to the word rivalry, to Brady Manning, and to Patrick Mahomes to think that this quarterback, great, while great, is somehow on the same level as the guy who has more MVPs, more championships. And by the way, it's not just that he has more. It's that he has them and Allen has none. Mahomes has 6 conference championship appearances, 3 Super Bowl appearances. Allen has 1 conference title game appearance, 0 Super Bowl appearances. Folks are going to think Buffalo Bills fans have thought for the last have been sending me very mean stuff on social media. It's kept me up at night. I can't. I'm struggling to sleep right now. It hurts my feelings because I really like Bills Mafia. But they're like, oh, you Josh Allen hater. I think he's one of the 5 best quarterbacks on the face of the earth. I just don't think, like others oddly do, that he's among one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever walk the planet, which Mahomes very obviously is. And by the way, we talk about those little moments. Doesn't Mahomes seem to always capitalize in the situations that Josh Allen doesn't? Can we, as great as Josh played, after a fumble late fourth quarter that thank God his offensive lineman recovered, can we see 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 9 to end the drive for the Bills before the missed kick by Tyler Bass? Can we pull that up here? Here we go. So there's Josh Allen on 2nd down and 9. He's going to short on the ball to Shakir. Okay, well, he shorts on the ball to Shakir. That's fine because he got hit in the backfield. I'm going to give Josh a pass there. It's hard to... Stephon Diggs right across the middle. He's coming right across the middle. Just show it again. Right there. He hits Diggs there with the momentum Diggs is taking. He's going to get the first. Let's look at 3rd and 9 now. So Josh is going to drop back. Here comes the pressure up the middle. and then he's going to try and roll out, make something happen. Nothing's there. He throws it out of bounds. Okay, there's nothing there. Or was there? Here's a look by CBS. We could show right here. There's the tight end, and there's the receiver right there, wide open across the middle. Now, there's no guarantee they'll get the first down. We'll show it to you again. No guarantee they'll get the first down, but just give yourself a shot. If nothing else, the field goal shorter for Tyler Bass. Whether he makes or misses, my guess is he probably misses because he missed 2 against my Steelers last week, and honest to God himself, I had a feeling he was going to miss that attempt to tie the game up. But it's those little plays. That's not to say Josh Allen's the reason the Bills lost, just like he wasn't the reason the Bills lost in 2021. Less so now or then than now, but wouldn't he be able to kind of quiet the narratives surrounding him? The, by the way, true narratives and the facts, really, if we want to put it that way, that, oh, he can't win the big game or, oh, he can't make the play when it's necessary. Had 2 opportunities right there. You keep the drive going, you eat more clock, and maybe Mahomes wins the game. Maybe he doesn't, but he certainly has less time. So those little things. By the way, he had a fumble right before that probably should have been recovered by the Chiefs. While Josh Allen is spectacular. One of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks I've ever seen in terms of size, his physicality, arm strength is off the charts. He's not that guy. Saying Russell Westbrook is great. In his prime, Russell Westbrook was great. Didn't mean Steph Curry. That's insane. By the way, at least Westbrook had an MVP. I didn't think he should have gotten it, but he had an MVP. Comparing Mahomes to Allen is like comparing Brady to Big Ben. It's the gap between the 2 examples there is the Grand Canyon. Allen is awesome. Mahomes is otherworldly. That's the difference. Let's look at some comments here. Patrick Brown, and he is 1,000% right here. This was Buffalo's golden opportunity to beat Kansas City. You won't get a better opportunity. Listen, I don't know if the Bills are going to win Super Bowl. Josh Allen, I think they're more than capable of doing it. Listen, they won 6 of their last 7 games. They shouldn't even been the playoffs. They were 6-6, but they were able to make some adaptions, some coaching coaching changes, bringing in, what's his name? Oh my gosh, this is before the 6-6. Joe Brady made some adjustments. To their credit. Had people fooled thinking they were a Super Bowl contender. But there's still some holes. And even still, notice when Josh Allen runs into the guys that are on or at or above his level, he never wins. He's 0-4 now in the playoffs against Mahomes and Burrow, both of which are obviously better than him. Mahomes, it's not even a discussion. Burrow, he's knocked off Mahomes in a playoff game and has a Super Bowl appearance on his resume. Like, these little things matter. Patrick, something's been off with Josh and Diggs since earlier this season. 8 targets, 3 catches for 21 yards. This was Diggs' time to rise and shine. Well, Diggs did not play well. And by the way, in Josh's defense, listen, that drop by Diggs in the 4th quarter, brutal. It was a perfectly thrown ball by Josh Allen. Perfect. Welcome to Dak Prescott's world in 2022 and Patrick Mahomes' world in 2023. And we ripped both. Well, I didn't rip both. I was consistent. I don't, crazy me, I don't blame quarterbacks for drops. But Mahomes dealt with that all season long. Got to find a way to overcome it. And by the way, bad as Diggs was, he's going to get the first down on 2nd and 9 if Allen sees him. We can check. Can we show it to you one more? Let's show it one more time. Okay, Stephon Diggs coming across the screen here. So here's the live shot, live on CBS. And you see Diggs, top of the screen right there. He's going to get the first or come darn close. We'll see the replay here. Right there. Right there. He didn't even look at him. Now, in his defense, Shakir was open, but again, the pressure came. Chris Jones knocked Deion Dawkins back into Josh Allen. And by the way, something else too. Like, that's one of the things I've heard. Mahomes is not as good of a dual threat as runner as Josh Allen. True. I mean, listen, Josh Allen's rush touchdown statistics are off the charts, but Allen didn't even have the longest run of the game by a quarterback. Mahomes did when he had that long run to set up one of their scoring drives. And by the way, something else too, Josh Allen, big arm guy. He threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage 16 times, at or behind the line of scrimmage 16 times. A lot of screen passes, I feel like the Bills were treating him as a game manager. Now, Josh Allen is not that, obviously, but it's odd. Wouldn't you say? Buffalo's a well-run franchise. They have an awesome quarterback and some pieces in their roster I like, but this notion that they were on the same level as the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't keep losing every time and call it a rivalry. Otherwise, it's a pretty darn pathetic rivalry. It is. Not to bring my Warriors back in the mix, but it was, Warriors and Cavs. Warriors got the Cavs 3 out of 4 times, but you say, hey, Warriors were overwhelmingly better than Cleveland in 17 and 18 once KD joined and no Kyrie in 2018. 2015, even with no Kyrie, no Kevin Love, LeBron took my Warriors to 6 games. And then 2016, you had the Draymond suspension. You have other factors that play in, and LeBron has the greatest defensive player ever, and Kyrie hits the shot that split my heart into a million pieces. Man, that was a rivalry. Warriors-Rockets, come on. Come on. That's where I'm at with Chiefs-Bills. If this is the best rivalry I have in the NFL, which for the record, I don't think it is, but if it is, it's not great. I think Mahomes-Burrow is a better example. 1-1 in the playoffs, and at least Burrow's been to a Super Bowl and got through Mahomes in order to do so in comeback fashion, I might add. Okay, so we'll talk Niners and Packers a little later because that was a fantastic football game. I thought San Francisco was going to not embarrass Green Bay, but kind of control the game. 2 weeks off, Shanahan, Purdy off 2 weeks rest, and that roster. Now, the Deebo Samuel thing did affect matters for the 49ers, but by and large, I thought they were going to take care of business, and that came down to the wire. More on that game a little later. But yesterday, so we had 3 great games this weekend. The Ravens was the only blowout. I'll talk about them in about a half hour. But the Detroit Lions knocking off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got a Buccaneers fan in my family. I'm sure he's down the dumps today. Shout out to Tampa Bay. Great season. Given what we had in terms of expectations for him. A little more on Baker later. But Detroit wins the game. 31-23. Jared Goff plays excellent. If we can check and give a look to Jared Goff's numbers here. What we got? 287 passing, 30 for 43, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a pass rating of 103. So Jared Goff played well against a really good Tampa Bay defense, a really aggressive Tampa Bay defense. Offensive line was good, the whole bit. But listen, if you'd have told me, if you'd have told someone coming into the season, listen, we're going to have all these contenders in the NFC. We're going to have the Niners who make the NFC title game. We're going to have the defending champion Eagles. We're going to have Dallas, with Dak having the best year of his career. And, who knows? This kid, Jordan Love, is going to come out of nowhere, and the Packers are going to go on, a little bit of a mini run here. That the Detroit Lions make the NFC title game? Like, that would have been, hard to believe coming into this season. And nobody would have predicted that. It just goes to show you how unpredictable the NFL season can. What's that? Oh, they did? Someone did pick him to go to the NFC title game? So someone's telling in my ear that somebody picked the Niners. I'm sorry, that the Lions get the NFC title game. That's impressive. We have the footage. We have the footage of them saying it? Oh, right now? Okay, let's see what we got.
Hold up.
And there's one team in particular, it's going to surprise you, but I think are a good draft away from not just being playoff contenders, but I'm talking legit Super Bowl, lift the Lombardi Trophy Super Bowl contenders. The Detroit Lions.
Hold up.
Heard me say at the beginning, I feel like if Detroit puts together a good draft, kind of like the Seahawks and the Jets did last year, and like the Seahawks are doing this year, man, they could be contenders in that NFC. As crazy as the NFC is, as all over the place as it is, I'm dead serious when I say, who's to say the Detroit Lions could not be in the NFC Championship game? I'm dead serious.
Hold up.
Detroit's going to the NFC Championship game. That will be your matchup, Ryan Flowers.
Detroit. Wow.
I have been saying for months, and I will stick with it. The Detroit Lions will play in the NFC title game. Been saying that since the draft. I'm going to stick to it and be held to it. Well, what do you know? What do you know about it? How about those Detroit Lions? And I'm a Steelers fan who roots for Dak on the side in Dallas, but to see what those Detroit Lions did, led by Dan Campbell, the head coach, led by Jared Goff, the quarterback, more on the roster, because to me that's the focus a little later. But listen, It was a little bit of a rough and rocky finish to the season for Detroit. But in the end, what happened yesterday to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Dan Campbell, Oprah Winfrey, help me out here.
Kneecap.
Oh, the kneecaps were bitten for the last time this season in Detroit. Now, we'll see if they're bitten beyond that in San Francisco or, dare I say, in Super Bowl 58 in Vegas. But this is such a great... I have no ties to Michigan, Detroit, the Lions. Well, the Lions sort of because Hendon Hooker's there. It's my guy from Tennessee, go Vols. But in general, I don't have any ties to Detroit or Michigan or any of that. But this is that city with this football team. People talk about, oh, Cleveland. Cleveland has some AFC title game appearances. Troy has one NFC title game appearance in the history of the Super Bowl era. One, back in 1991 with Barry Sanders manning the ship. And they're back. Again, who could have seen it coming? You know, I think I'm the only one outside of the city of Detroit that saw the Detroit Lions getting to the NFC title game. So needless to say, I'm feeling mighty fine about myself today. But to me, what the focus is that, listen, we've seen teams kind of come out of nowhere, go on runs, but for Detroit, it wasn't a, heat of the moment. Or not heat of the moment. That's the wrong way to put it. It wasn't a situation where they just came out of nowhere, like Brock Purdy style. Brock Purdy comes to the NFL. We're like, dang, this kid's pretty good. More on Brock Purdy later. But for Detroit, it was a gradual, it was a process. It was the perfect definition of a build. You say, what about rebuild? What were they building from? They were disastrous for the vast majority of their history. They trade Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, goes on to win a Super Bowl that first season there. And we're thinking, coming into this season for Detroit, like, Lions are just the Lions. They're irrelevant. They're bad. They lose every year on Thanksgiving. Like, who cares about Detroit, right? Playing a dome. And then they hired Dan Campbell. And I listen, full disclosure, when that press conference happened, I'm like, yeah, that's, oh, Lord, that's the answer. That's who they're turning to try and turn this thing around, huh? Ooh, I don't know about that. This kneecap and ankle biting, and I just feel sorry for Lions fans. And that first season, 3-13-1, competitive in a lot of their games, but just can't make the plays at the end of the season. Then 2022 rolls around. They're 1-6 actually, 1-6, and then they get rolling. They win 8 of their last 10 games. They almost make the playoffs. They knock the Packers out of the playoffs and end Aaron Rodgers' Green Bay career. This year they end up going 12-5. They're in the NFC title game today. But how did they do that? How did they go from 3 wins to 9 wins to 12 wins and a conference title game berth? One name, 2 words. Brad Holmes, the general manager of this Detroit Lions football team. What he was able to do and slowly building up this football team through not just necessarily the free agent market or the trade market where they got Jared Goff from the Rams, or they signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who got an interception against Baker Mayfield after all the trash talk between those two during the week. The draft, I don't think you can ace a draft any more than they did. Let's take a look here. Let's look at the Detroit Lions draft over the last 3 years, okay? So 2021, they hit on 3 picks. Penei Sewell, their tackle, who is amazing, but oftentimes has been Pro Football Focus's highest rated offensive lineman. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, had well over 1,000 yards receiving and is the most underrated receiver in football, their number 1 guy. And Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes taking 1 pick after St. Brown. Yeah, how's that draft pick worked out for the Lions? He got the game-ending interception off Baker Mayfield yesterday. 2022, they take Aiden Hutchinson 2nd overall in the draft. After the Jags weirdly took Trayvon Walker number 1. I still will never understand that. Didn't understand then, don't understand now. Aiden Hutchinson's a monster. I mean, how many times was he in the backfield getting pressure on Baker Mayfield yesterday and all season long? Then they draft Jamison Williams 10 picks later. Jamison Williams is their number 2 receiver, really a speed guy out of Alabama. Or you see Derek Barnes there. I apologize. This is Derek Barnes. That should say, if we could pull this up. Okay, that should say, hang on. That shouldn't say Derek Barnes. It should say another player's name. I apologize for the little snafu in the graphic there. But let's see. Who was it? Okay, no, it's nobody. Okay, so those were really the 2 hits. So that shouldn't say Derek Barnes there. But the point is, Derek Barnes drafted 2021, is not drafted in 2022, full disclosure. But then 2023, folks, they had a not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 draft picks. Jahmyr Gibbs, who's I loved out of Alabama and has been nothing short of awesome for them. Jack Campbell, a linebacker out of Iowa, who's been great. Sam Laporta, who is, the greatest rookie tight end we've ever seen by the numbers and is one of the best security blankets. I'm going to say right now, the man's going to be the next Travis Kelce. Brian Branch as well. Safety they took out of Alabama. They like their Alabama guys. I noticed that. I guess ties to Nick Saban somehow. They hit on all of these draft picks, which is a credit to their GM, Brad Holmes. It's a credit to their front office, which has nailed these picks. Also going and getting guys in free agency. Getting Cam Sutton, who Cam Sutton had a rough day yesterday. My guy out of Tennessee, go Vols. He was guarding Mike Evans. In Cam's defense, most guys struggle against Mike Evans. He's a phenomenal player. It is a future Hall of Famer. It was a slow build. It was a gradual build, and it's gotten them to this point in the NFC title game. And by the way, because of these draft picks, I'm going to say right now, I don't know if they're going to win the game. I honest to God have not made my prediction yet. I'm going to save that for Friday. I always do. But generally, though, I kind of have a good look on or a good feel about where the game's going, where the direction of that game is going. Tell me the position group where the Niners, they might be better in some of them, where they're way better than Detroit. I'd probably say secondary. The Detroit secondary struggled a lot this season, but San Francisco's isn't crazy. I mean, Jordan Love had his moments against them at those young Packers receivers. Quarterback, I'll talk about Purdy later. He showed me a lot. I'm taking Jared Goff. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's probably the best quarterback in football with a clean pocket outside of Joe Burrow. Running game, McCaffrey, but you have McCaffrey, obviously, who's amazing in San Francisco, but in Detroit, you have Gibbs, you have Montgomery, Thunder and Light, or really in that direction, Lightning and Thunder, so to speak. Receivers, well, you got Debo, you got Ayuk, you got Juwan Jennings, you got guys like that in San Francisco. Well, Detroit says, well, look at our guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Jameson Williams. Offensive line, advantage Detroit by a mile. That's the best offensive line in the league. San Francisco's has an amazing left tackle. That's kind of it. Tight end, San Francisco, Kittle, but Laporta's coming, man. 2 Iowa guys, man. Iowa's tight end you. We've come to know that, especially with Hawkinson in Minnesota coming from Iowa. Defensive line, San Francisco, I definitely give a solid advantage there, but Detroit has Aiden Hutchinson. Linebackers, that's the only area I'd say that the Niners are way better because they have Warner and because they have Greenlaw, who was great against the Green Bay the other night. But that's because of those are 2 best linebackers of football. They're better than everybody, including Detroit. Secondary, Niners are better, not by much. The secondary gets covered a lot for because of the front 7. So I'm just saying, by the way, kicker, I trust Detroit's kicker more than San Francisco's rookie kicker. So we talk about this situational football. We talk about roster comparisons. Niners are better than Detroit, but it's not by much. I mean, I tweeted this because I never, ever, ever, ever tweet about lines. I leave that to the sharps, to the gambling experts, to the betting guys and gals out there. But when I saw San Francisco -7, I'm like, oh my God, I'm all over Detroit in the points. I mean, listen, I don't bet, as the old segment goes on my show. It's called
Betting Man.
If I Were a Betting Man. I am going to Vegas right now. I am not waiting for that line to drop. I am taking Detroit plus the points. Don't know if they're going to win the game, but I'm absolutely taking the Lions and the 7 points. Shout out to the city of Detroit, man. For the longtime fans who have suffered through so much of just incompetent football. Folks, they had an 0-16 season in 08. 0-16. And here they are 15 years later with the second best team in the NFC and a win away. 1 win away from Super Bowl 58. Don't know if they're going to win against San Francisco. Haven't made my pick yet. But for Dan Campbell, doubted. Jared Goff, doubted. And to be able to hit on all these draft picks like the way that Brad Holmes has. Those 3 guys. But I would say with Holmes getting the majority of the credit, Holmes being at the top of the list. Job well done. This is why I saw the Detroit Lions all the way back in April, 9 months ago. I literally said on the show, I played the clip there. If the Lions ace the 2023 draft, they'll be in the NFC Championship game. They aced the draft just like they did in 2022, just like they did in 2021. And here they are in the NFC title game, 1 win away from the Super Bowl. I have stuck with this pick all season long. Even when it got a little dicey, they lost to Chicago. Green Bay blew them out. They had the controversial loss to Dallas. Everybody bailed on Detroit. Oh, they're kind of a cute team. They score a lot of points, but oh, no. They can score a lot of points in you, but they can get nasty. They can play nasty football if necessary with their front seven. Man, how about those Detroit Lions, man? Not even a Lions fan, but I am freaking thrilled. Of course, for my pick, but for that city, man. They've been through a lot with Detroit, and they're a couple wins away, as Dan Campbell said after the game. He's talking to his team. He said, we're 2 wins away. And he said, with the bye in the middle, 2 wins. And the Lions are Super Bowl champions, down to our final 4. There we go. Let's see. Patrick Brown, Detroit is going to the NFC title game before Dallas. Regardless of what happens, it's been a magical run. We cringed at Dan's introductory press conference. It works, and guys bought into the culture. He can motivate his players who want to run through a wall for him. Wish Dallas had a guy who's not afraid to be himself. Plus, Dan was in the 0-16 Lions. Now he's the head coach leading them to the NFC title game. Yeah, listen, I don't want to talk about Dallas today. I don't want to talk about crappy run franchises with quarterbacks who's dragging them, and receivers, by the way. 1 receiver. That is. I want to talk about Dallas, okay? I don't like talking about junk. Man, that is how you rebuild a franchise, though. If you can ace your picks, you can go a long way. I'll tell you what, though, regardless of what happens, that NFC North clash in 2024 between Green Bay and Detroit, that's going to be fun. Chicago, they should draft Caleb. We'll see. But even if they get Caleb, who I think is going to be phenomenal, I don't think they'll be winning the division over Detroit and Green Bay good. Minnesota, they have a ton of question marks, especially at quarterback, so we'll see. But that Detroit-Green Bay back and forth is going to be a really, that might be the most fun divisional race to watch in 2024. Obviously, you have Dallas, Philly, but right now, as currently constructed, they're both fraudulent. Green Bay's trending upwards, and Detroit has been trending upwards, and a couple more wins, and they got themselves a Lombardi. That is good stuff. Shout out to Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff. That is, I'm like, I don't know if I've ever been this excited for a team that's not my own to go on a long run. This is really, really cool stuff. You saw Detroit reacted. Was Eminem at the game yesterday, though? I didn't see him. He was in the game before against the Rams. I did not see Marshall Mathers during that game. I'm going to assume he was there. Or maybe he's like, hey, I want to just take it in. I want the cameras on. I don't know. But, man, Detroit's best came out. I'm sure they'll come out in the Bay Area. Let's transition there, though. Talk about the Packers later. And rest assured, Cheesehead Ozzy will come into the building. But before we talk about the Packers, San Francisco. So they won the game 24-21 over the Green Bay Packers, and it was far from pretty. It was far from what I thought it'd be. I had San Francisco 31-16. I thought this would be a game where they kind of controlled throughout. McCaffrey was good. Purdy working out of the play action. To kind of a typical Niners win. They controlled throughout. Man, listen, some of the games, they just smacked teams like Dallas and Jacksonville and Philly. And then some games, like some divisional games, Arizona, Seattle, they just kind of slowly, gradually pull away. But in this one, it was a dogfight. And not that they're not capable of winning dogfights, because they are, because they have a great roster and a very physical style of football, physical brand of football. But my question about Brock Purdy. See, I've always been, I loved Purdy from the jump. I've called him Sturdy Purdy since late 2022. I really like this kid a lot. I ventured into loving Purdy when they blew out Dallas. I'm like, dang, look at his numbers. Look at the throws he's making. Like, man. But 3-game losing streak. They play from behind. He's not good playing from behind. Then they have the loss to Baltimore, who smokes them, and Purdy looks completely overwhelmed, which hindsight's 2020 in his defense. They kind of overwhelmed Stroud at times. We know Stroud had a great season this year, so a little pass for Purdy. But that 3-game losing streak, close games, just couldn't play from behind. Couldn't play out of structure, so to speak. That was my question. I don't fall in the Purdy stands, and I don't fall in the Purdy haters. Both kind of get on my nerves to a certain extent. Okay, I don't think Purdy's as good as some people say. I don't think he's as bad as other people say. I got him right in that top 12 category around that situation, around like the Kirk Cousins area, which is not a shot because Kirk's a darn good quarterback. If you put Kirk in San Francisco, they go a long ways. Again, that's not a shot at Purdy either. But that was my question. Could he play from behind? Well, Packers missed the field goal. Anders Carlson, who Matt LaFleur, according to Tom Rinaldi, said that he prays when he comes out there to kick. That's not great. I mean, Carlson had missed more kicks than anybody this season, so the miss comes as no surprise to anybody. But Purdy's got the ball from his own 31, 6:18 to go. Yeah, this is it. You're down 4. Field goal does you no good. 6 minutes to go. This is ideal circumstances. Ideal circumstances for a game-winning drive. It's like, Purdy, what you got? Debo's hurt. It's nasty weather. The other team's playing with momentum. Frankly, your coach hasn't called the greatest game ever. Kyle Shanahan had a rough outing. Matt LaFleur coached circles around him, and I never thought I'd say those words, but he did. Kind of got to overcome some stuff. That's called NFL quarterbacking, and I wasn't sure if Purdy could do that. And here's what he did. We'll show you the drive. He has money. So here's the first one. It's play action. He's going to hit Jawan Jennings here, my man out of Tennessee. Go Vols. Jawan's going to get a few yards after the catch. There he goes, the first play. Here's the second play. Little dump off to McCaffrey. Okay, let's get some going. Little check down. Let's get what we can here. Take what the defense gives us. The 3rd and 5, though, is the best throw he made. We're going to show it twice. It's so nice. We got to show it twice to Ayuk. Look at that. Just threading the needle right there to Ayuk over the middle. One more time. Bam. Perfect throw by Purdy. Next play is another gorgeous throw to Conley, number 84, the receiver Conley. Perfect. Perfectly thrown ball. Then the next one, he uses his leg, or not, I'm sorry, that's the one after that. Then he hits Kittle. There's Kittle open. He hits him under pressure. By the way, pressure coming up the middle. He hits Kittle. Then the next one, Purdy does what Jimmy could never do. Jimmy Garoppolo, move in and out of the pocket. See nothing's there. Let's use my legs. I'm going to use my legs, see what I can get. And then, of course, at the end, Mr. Christian McCaffrey does what he's done a lot, and that's score touchdowns, and he finishes it off right there with what ended up being the game-winning score. We could show you Purdy's numbers. Again, this graphic provided by my man Alfred Parsard Jr. We could show you the graphic. Purdy's last drive. 6 for 7, completed about 85% of his passes, 47 pass yards, 11 rush yards, 3 first downs, and again, 12-play, 69-yard game-winning drive. The questions I had about Purdy, not just can he win playing from behind. He went the extra mile. He played from behind without everybody there. We saw Deebo Samuel missed a lot of time in that 3-game losing streak. Didn't look like the same offense. Now, it didn't look like the same offense for 3.5 quarters, but really what Purdy did was like the reverse Josh Allen. Josh was amazing through 3.5 quarters and was not good at all in the last 6, 7.5, or 8, really. Purdy was, I'm going to be nice today because I'm complimenting the man, mid, to use a Gen Z term, mid through, the 3.5 quarters of action. But when they absolutely needed him to come up big, he did. Those throws to Ayuk and to Conley, especially the Ayuk throw, just third. I mean, that's 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5, about 3-4 minutes to go. You got to fit that into a tight window. Otherwise, it's 4th and 5. There's a lot of pressure if you don't get it. Playoffs. It's raining. It's wet. The other teams play with momentum. No Deebo Samuel. And he didn't blink. And he did blink in the 3 games before that. Against Cleveland, Minnesota, and Cincinnati. Saturday night, he said, I got this. I got this. Well, let me take y'all to the finish line here. And let Christian, let our best offensive player finish it off. Shout out to Brock Purdy. I have really liked this kid from day one. Y'all remember when they beat Tampa Bay, he came in. Garoppolo got hurt. He came in, played pretty well against Miami, and then they played his very first start was against the greatest quarterback ever, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and the Niners win 35-7. Purdy plays amazing, and this is for the Purdy lovers. Like, here you go. Like this is what or the Purdy stands would be a better way to put it. This is kind of what I've said is, I think the kid's really good. I think he's a top 12 guy. I mean, we see his numbers. His pass ratings off the charts and pass yards and touchdowns and all that. They're great. Passer rating, completion percentage. But can he come through when it matters most when circumstances aren't ideal? Well, that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. Now, he wasn't great through 3.5 quarters, which is why I don't elevate him into that elite level. But is he in the really, really good level? No doubt about it. No question. That and for the Purdy haters, like, oh, they're just doing with him what they did with Jimmy G. Like, ask him to not lose the game. Jimmy's been bad in these situations. You remember that drive against, remember that they blew a 10-point lead to the Rams? They blew a 10-point lead to the Chiefs. Jimmy Garoppolo did get the ball in those situations and couldn't capitalize. And for the record, you look at the advanced analytics. We don't have time to get into that today, but if you look at Purdy completion percentage on throws outside the numbers compared to Jimmy, ain't even close. Purdy on 20 or more yards down the field. Jimmy G barely attempted throws of 20 or more yards down the field. Shanahan trusts him more. Now, my criticism of Kyle, then I'll get into the Packers. My criticism of Kyle, again, you heard me say, I thought he called a pretty poor game. And this has been something that's kind of been his bugaboo, especially in playoff games. We remember when he was the OC back in Atlanta when they lost to the Patriots in the infamous 28-3 comeback by New England. He was the offensive play caller. What did he do? He deviated from the run. 2020 against Kansas City, deviated from the run. Now, to a certain extent, I kind of get why he did it against the Chiefs. They didn't get a ton going in the run game through the stage of that game, so I sort of get what he was doing. But he has a tendency to not adjust terribly well. Like, here's the thing about Kyle Shanahan. He is an A+++ play designer and play caller, especially to start a game. He's kind of a C-level adjuster, an adapter. He's not like Mike McCarthy bad, but he kind of just, this is what we're doing. This is what we've done the whole game, and I'm really not going to change it. Well, that's fine when you have the best roster in the league and you're blowing somebody out. But if another team's playing you blow for blow, toe-to-toe, it's not going to be quite as smooth sailing. And that's what happened through the vast majority of the game. But credit to Shanahan, he dialed up the plays when he had to. Purdy did. But again, I don't love, again, I call Purdy really good, not great. Top 12. I don't love 39 attempts. And by the way, Jordan Love attempted 34 and threw the 2 picks, so props to... Now, Purdy tried to throw that pick 6 to Savage. Savage got Dak last week. He almost got Purdy in this game, but shout out to Brock Purdy. That was my concern. Can he play from behind when things aren't ideal? And by the way, I'm seeing people move the goalposts. Well, what about being down double digits? No. Let's be consistent on this. Let's be consistent. He was down 4, wet weather, other teams playing with momentum. Defense has been good. He's been shaky. He overcame that mentally. Deebo Samuel gone. And all the throws he had to. We'll show the stats one more time on the game-winning drive. 6 for 7, 45 pass yards, 11 rush yards, and 3 first downs to lead a 12-play, 69-yard game-winning drive. That's what you asked him to do, and he did it. Shout out to Brock Purdy, man. He came through. Sturdy Purdy. See, I never called him elite Purdy. I never called him great Purdy, or strong as a rock, or strong as a rock Brock or something. But he sure is sturdy Purdy, and he came through. And that's what they needed. Let's see. No comments. Okay, no comments here. But yeah, that's shout out to the Niners, man. A lot better quarterback now than they have with Jimmy. And that's not a shot at Jimmy, but Jimmy's a backup. He's backup. He backed up Aiden O'Connell in Vegas. It's not great. He's a good-looking guy. He's got a lot of money. Jimmy's not exactly hurting today. But yeah, that's what the Niners tend to do. Now, let me check something real quick. Is that thing still on? No, it's off. Okay, so we won't play that. I just want to make sure. Just give me about 10 seconds, real quick. Just hang on just a moment right here. So are we ready to go? Okay, then let's do it. Cheesehead Ozzy's back in the building. Again, it has been far too long. It's been far too long since I was last here. When the Packers lost to the Giants, you're like, well, Cheesehead Ozzy, why weren't you there when the Packers lost to the Buccaneers? Well, I was in Disney World, so I didn't bring the Cheesehead, didn't bring the shades. I just, I didn't have it there. But makes it tough for Packers fans. Makes it tough is the fact that you got your hopes up. Quarterback was balling out. The first half and through parts of the third quarter, he was playing big-time football. And you're running the football effectively with Aaron Jones, who had the big run to get you down in field goal range when the kick that Carlson missed. Aaron Jones, 8 carries for 108, 6-yard average. That'll work. That's pretty good. With no A.J. Dillon. Offensive line did its job through portions of the night. Again, considering the defensive line they're facing, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, that's impressive what they did. They have some good young talented receivers. Romeo Doubs was good. Once again, he's kind of turned into their number 1 guy. They had the other dude, forget his name, number 80, Melton, who made the touchdown catch. Great toe tap on the broken the broken coverage in the secondary for the Niners. They're ready to go. 3-6. Get hot at the end of the year. And Jordan Love did what great quarterbacks in Green Bay do. And God knows, they've had some all-timers. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Whether or not Jordan Love will get to those heights, like first ballot Hall of Fame heights, remains to be seen. But they've certainly hit on their quarterback. He is their franchise guy. But he did what the all-time greats, the legends, the guys will be talking about forever in Green Bay, what they all did too, especially his predecessor. got hot at the end of the year, got rolling. Remind you of RELAX, Aaron Rodgers, or we're going to run the table when the Packers were 4-6 in 2016. Remind you of that. 3-6, get hot at the end of the year. Before that, they beat the Bears. They book into the season with wins against Chicago. And then they went to Dallas and beat the Cowboys because the Packers, own the Cowboys, have just as many playoff wins at AT&T Stadium as Dallas does. They own Dallas, and Jordan Love put on a clinic against the Cowboys. And then they went to San Francisco and lost. That's the Green Bay tradition, man. That's what they do. You knock off the Bears because you own them. And you knock off the Cowboys because you own them too. And you lose to the Niners because they own you. Whether it's Garcia, whether it's Kaepernick, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, whether it's Brock Purdy, sturdy Purdy. Doesn't matter. They're going to get you in the end. Doesn't matter if you have Favre, Rodgers, or Love. It's just how the cookie crumbles. The NFL scriptwriters, I'm saying this in jest, obviously. It's they recycled an old script. There's no question about that. But as Cheesehead Ozzy, I may be a Packers troll, so to speak, wearing the beloved dairy on my head as foam dairy. By the way, it's not real. Of course, I'm not going to eat this afterwards. But wearing the foam dairy in my head, as so many of you loyal Packers fans do. I have good news. You have a lot to look forward to. You do. Okay, your quarterback was second in the NFL in touchdown passes. Jordan Love surpassed Brock Purdy at the end when Purdy didn't play. Second to Rain Dakota Prescott. You beat Rain Dakota Prescott and his team badly in a playoff game. You still own the Bears, and against San Francisco is another matter. But you have really, really, really talented young receivers. You got Jaden Reed. You got Christian Watson, who was compromised due to the hamstring. He'll be back next year. He's a playmaker. He's a deep threat. You got Romeo Doubs, who's kind of become your number one guy. You got that kid Wicks, who's really, I like him. Nice route runner. You still got Aaron Jones. You're not paying anybody really other than Aaron Jones and some offensive linemen. Bakhtiari's still there, even though he got hurt. A.J. Dillon, we'll see what happens. My guess is, I don't know if he stays in Green Bay or not. We'll see. But they develop run games in Green Bay well under Matt LaFleur. You got two really good tight ends. Kraft. Tucker Kraft, the tight end. You got the other kid, Luke Musgrave, who when he was healthy was really, really productive. Now, defensively, you're not very good, but my guess is the Packers will move on from Joe Barry and bring another guy in. See if they can patch up the defense. It's good news in Green Bay. And by the way, Matt LaFleur, I have been a Matt LaFleur skeptic since the day he took the Packers job. Since Carving Up started in 2019, which was LaFleur's rookie year as the Packers coach, didn't always love what I saw, especially from a ready-to-play standpoint, are the Packers motivated, ready to go? I mean, they had some blowout losses to the Niners in the playoffs. They lost a close one again to Jimmy G at home. More blame on Rodgers than LaFleur, but the point is, they lost that game to Tampa and Brady when Brady threw 3 picks in the NFC title game. But ultimately, this guy was with Jordan Love. Not to take credit away from Love, but Love was looking pretty darn shaky. Like, really shaky. The first 9 games of the season. I mean, some like 14 touchdowns, 12 picks, was just not playing very well, looked uncomfortable, kind of antsy in the pocket. And by his own development individually, as well as with the play calling development structure in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur, became a different quarterback. 20 touchdowns, I believe, about 20, 21 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Now, he threw 2 yesterday or Saturday night against the 49ers. Those were rough. The second one was absolutely, inexcusable. That was literally, you saw in NFL memes and all these places putting it out. That was the Brett Favre interception when he was with the Vikings against the Saints that cost Minnesota the title game. That's what that was. First down, minutes ago. What the heck are you doing, Jordan Love? Throwing the ball across your body, fading out of bounds. That is the biggest no-no, and props to Dre Greenlaw for getting a second interception on the day. But and by the way, Jordan Love, to his credit, admitted after the game that, that's the cardinal sin, so to speak. That's not exactly what he said, but he alluded to that. You just don't do that as a quarterback when it's first down, minute to go. You only need 25 yards to get in a field goal range. Now your kicker is questionable at best, but at least give him a shot there and just throw it out of bounds, live to see another play. But he's a young quarterback. He'll learn. Things are looking up for Green Bay, as they should. But just know, Packers fans, the Niners will always own you. They will. And there's a team in your division by the name of the Detroit Lions that ain't going nowhere. And they're going to be doing a lot of this for years to come.
Kneecap. 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 Kneecap.
So freaking thrilled for the Lions still. So you have to compete with that. And Aaron Rodgers' years, you had a little Jay Cutler run in Chicago where they got to an NFC title game, and Detroit was garbage, and Minnesota was always fine but not good enough. Took advantage of a bad division, kind of like Brady did in the AFC East for years. Different day in that AFC North. You know who's probably going to be joining your division soon? Caleb Williams. Okay, Minnesota, they're kind of just Minnesota. Detroit, different day in Detroit now. So the road to getting back to the top won't be quite as simple and as straightforward as it might seem, Green Bay. Not everybody's life is, you go to college, graduate, get a good job, get married, have 2.5 kids. It's not always that linear. There's going to be bumps along the road. So ensure, this is a young football team with tons of potential. Just ensure, Packers fans, just ensure yourself, Green Bay Packers organization, that you don't get too high on yourselves after overachieving and exceeding expectations that I and many had for you. This was, by all accounts, a very successful Packers season, and they have absolutely nothing to hang their heads over. But the Niners aren't going anywhere. And more important, their division, where Caleb Williams could be stopping by for a cup of coffee and then some. And the Detroit Lions, they ain't going nowhere. It ain't going to be as simple as it may look, Green Bay. Sharon! Excuse me. It's not going to be as easy, Packers fans. So, for the final time in the postseason, in the regular season, well, you can only do it once in the playoffs. For the final time of the 2023 football season, Green Bay, you overachieved. You proved me wrong. I thought you only win 6 games, that you move off Love. You obviously neither were true. I was dead wrong on both. But you got your hopes there, didn't you? You got to just tick, tick, tick. He's just like, oh my God, we're going to beat the Niners. We're going to beat the 1 seed. We're going to beat the Cowboys, the 2 seed, the Niners, the 1 seed. We're going to Detroit. Oh, no. No. It's a different ball game, the playoffs. You can't make those ill-fated mistakes that Jordan Love made, that the defense was not able to come through. Can't do that. Packers fan, people think Cheesehead Ozzie doesn't like Packers fans. He does. He has sympathy. He's with a Packers fan on Saturday night. And she was very sad. And it was hard to watch at times. I'm not rooting for my family to be sad, or I love my family. I want them to always be happy. But you did get your hopes up there a little bit, didn't you? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So, for the last time, Cheesehead Ozzie signing off. All right, that was fun. That was fun stuff. Listen, it's always, for the record, people are like, what's Cheesehead Ozzie? Well, obviously, Ozzy Osbourne, the singer, obviously. My man Grady Edwards, I don't know if Grady's in the comments or watching right now. Shout out to him. But Grady, years ago, when I came up with this, or really last season's when I brought the shades on, he said, for some reason, you're giving me like Ozzy Osbourne vibes, and you got the Cheesehead. He said, hey, what about Cheesehead Ozzie? I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And he said, listen, Cheesehead Ozzie made many appearances over the course of the season, given that the Packers lost 8 games. But that was fun. That was fun. And listen, Patrick's in the comments. He's right. My sister Chloe, he says, Chloe has hope moving forward. Kudos to her for being a good sport. She was a good sport. And listen, she was in all dead serious, in all seriousness. Obviously, we watched the game together, and that was, she's been a Packers fan for sorry, Chloe, if I'm getting this wrong, but what, 5-6 years? About 5-6 years, something like that. 5, 6, 7 years. Obviously, Aaron was still there. She became a fan right at the end of the McCarthy era. And that's when she really started getting to the Packers and the NFL in general. But that is the only time I've ever seen her this heartbroken or this floored was the NFC title game loss to Brady and the Buccaneers in 2020, because the Packers finally had a home game, finally had an NFC Championship game at Lambeau, and they blew it. And Tom was able to come out with the dub at the end. But that was more of a stun feeling. She was pretty devastated. And she's been a Jordan Love fan since day one. She has believed in that kid from the jump when I didn't, and she was obviously spot on, right in the money. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Favre and Rodgers, but that's a high bar to reach. He may, I don't know. But they've clearly found their franchise guy. and didn't play very well at the end, but they seem like they've got their guy. But in general, look, she was heartbroken, but her team has hope moving forward. But like I said, Caleb Williams may, if the Bears have 2 brain cells, will bring in Caleb Williams if they're smart. And the Lions are they're not going away anytime soon. They're a win away from the Super Bowl. Okay, and it's a brand new day and a brand new culture in Detroit, Michigan, with Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Jared Goff, etc. Very, very exciting. Fun weekend though, for real. Like, I'll finish the show talking about the Ravens game. 3 of the 4 games lived up to the hype. And most people, we saw the line for Ravens Texans. The Ravens were supposed to win comfortably. I didn't think they win by as much as they did. I think I had them by 10. They won by 24. But more on the Ravens just a second. But the other 3 were just great. You had obviously San Francisco and Green Bay. I didn't know this, but Fox said during the game they met more than any 2 teams in the history of the playoffs, 10 times. And obviously the Niners continue to kind of own Green Bay. But then you had the Sunday afternoon game with Detroit, Tampa Bay, competitive throughout. By the way, let me just touch on quickly, and then I'll get to the Ravens. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. I said this on Wednesday's show after they beat Philadelphia, and I'll repeat it again, that I have been extremely skeptical about Baker coming to the NFL. I thought he was incredibly immature. I didn't see the special there from a talent perspective, not to the level that I saw with Josh Allen, who I said didn't have a show back then, but honest to God, I said Josh Allen's going to be the best quarterback in this draft, and he hasn't been. Lamar's been, but still, Josh Allen is more than compensated for where the Bills took him early in the first round. But I was like, I don't really see it there with Baker, and he has the really good rookie season, awful second year, third year gets in the playoffs and beats my Steelers in the playoffs. And then year 4, the shoulder injury. Odell, you have the issue with Odell, doesn't play very well. It's actually kind of bad, to be honest with you. The team at times looks better with him off the field than on it. Then he goes to Carolina, and he doesn't play very well there. Then he goes to the Rams when Stafford's out for the year. Rams are out of the playoffs. They're like, yeah, let's kick the tires on Baker Mayfield. And remember Baker on that Thursday night game against the Raiders? Remember that game where they're down, I think they were down 3-4 points in the fourth quarter. They had to go 99 yards in less than 2 minutes. And Baker went boom, 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 boom. Game-winning touchdown. Even more impressive, as great as that is, he was a Ram for like 48-ish hours before that. He hadn't been a Ram for a week, and he led the team to a game-winning drive. Similar to what we saw by my man Space Dobbs, Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut against the Falcons this season. Very similar circumstances, and he kind of plays well. He has a blowout win over Denver, has some moments here and there. Then he goes to Tampa. Feels like they've kind of the NFL sort of left him for dead in Tampa. Brady's retired. The Buccaneers got to move off some guys. And he wins the division. I get it's a bad division. I get it. But beats a broken Philadelphia team and then throws for 350? Yeah, 349, 3 touchdowns. Listen, the interception at the end was bad, but he's the reason they got there. So what I said about Baker, what I came to kind of the realization on Wednesday's show is, if you give, like most people in life, there are exceptions. If you give him good circumstances, he can thrive in them. By the way, some people, that's not the case. You could put him in good circumstances, they still find a way to mess it up. It's not Baker. It's not Baker. Give him good circumstances. The 1 year in Cleveland, made the playoffs. Give him good circumstances with Sean McVay, has some good moments, plays pretty well. Give him good circumstances with good weapons and a great defensive coach, wins a division, wins a playoff game. And for the record, something else too about Baker, something else that smart, self-reflective people do, he matured. He was kind of gave frat boy vibes in college, certainly in Oklahoma and in his first few years in Cleveland. But guess what? Cleveland's a disaster. Cleveland's a train wreck. Cleveland's always dysfunctional. Okay, it took them getting the greatest basketball player who ever lived, we can debate that later, to finally get a championship for the first time in a half century. And now if you're going to add the time since, 1 title in 60 years for the city of Cleveland. Took the greatest player ever, we can debate that later, to get them there. Of course, Baker's going to struggle there, in hindsight. And even he had some good moments there. So Baker matured. The team rallies around him. They seem to feed off his energy. And guess what? He still's a little cocky. He still has that chip on his shoulder, but he manages it. Like all the greats do. Baker's not a great quarterback, but he's a franchise one, and the Buccaneers would be idiotic not to pay him. I love being proven wrong on athletes. People are like, oh, that's just hindsight. No, I really do. Listen to these guys, these men, these women work their whole lives to become professional athletes. I don't want to sit up here their whole careers and just bash them till the day they retire. Shout out Baker Mayfield, man. Listen, he's going to get a contract in Tampa Bay. Mike Evans, I assume because that probably comes back. Mike Evans, 8 catches for $147 and a touchdown. Made a crazy catch at the end of the first half. The concentration, we don't have the video of it, but the concentration to haul that thing in was phenomenal. Shout out to Tampa Bay. Now, there's some clock management stuff with Todd Bowles that was weird and confusing. Other than that, though, Buccaneers, NFC divisional round loss to the second best team in the conference on the road by 8, and you had a chance to win it there at the end. There were worse outcomes for the season for Tampa. So Buccaneers fans have a lot to be happy about, and Tampa should bring Baker back. They should. No doubt about it. And I was wrong on him. Give Baker good circumstances. Give young, talented people good circumstances. Give them a chance. Listen, we all know men mature, men develop emotionally, better than, not better, quite the opposite, slower than women. It's been scientifically proven, and it took Baker time, but he did. And I give him kudos for that. I really do. So shout out to Baker Mayfield. Now, for the guy that Baker Mayfield used to face in the AFC North, and a guy my team has to unfortunately face twice a year, not this year because of the fact the Ravens rested him. That guy, Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens, I don't know if you've heard recently, but Little Birdie told me he's pretty good at football. He's not bad. Lamar Jackson against the Houston Texans in a 34-10 drubbing. 16-22, a $152 passing, 2 touchdowns, passer rating of 121, and a QBR if you round up to 94. And by the way, he had 11 carries for 100 yards and 2 more touchdowns. So Lamar Jackson in totality had 252 yards total, 2 touchdowns passing, 2 rushing. That would count for 4 on the day. QBR 0 to 100 of 93.9 and a passer rating of 121.8. Simply put, he was nothing short of spectacular because that's Lamar Jackson. Now, I said on Friday, obviously, I picked the Ravens to win the game. And I'm a Steelers fan, mind you. I picked the Ravens to win the game, though. They're far better roster than Houston. Houston's just too young. They need time. CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, they're on the right path, obviously. Took a crappy franchise to the playoffs and a playoff win. Props to him. Baltimore's a better team. But I said, for as much as I believed in Lamar since he came into the NFL, he can't lose this game. I said he's under more pressure than Josh Allen was. If Josh lost to Mahomes, well, guess what? At least you could sort of say it's Patrick Mahomes. Josh didn't make the plays at the end again, but it's Mahomes. Like you could sort of rationalize it. You can't rationalize Lamar Jackson losing to a rookie quarterback, rookie coach, a team that's really not even supposed to be there as the 1 seed, as a guy who's going to win a second MVP in his career in the divisional round, one and done. That couldn't happen for Lamar and the Ravens. Couldn't happen. And it was dicey. Houston blitzed a lot in the first half, and Lamar kind of struggled. And in the second half, this is just the drive charts. This doesn't even take into context what Lamar Jackson was doing with his arm and with his legs, which was just crazy. Just things that other guys can't do. But second half, Lamar Jackson, 6 plays, 55 yards, touchdown. The next drive, 12 plays, 93 yards, touchdown. The next drive, 11 plays, 78 yards, touchdown. And then they got a field goal drive there at the end. I don't even know. Tyler Huntley. No, Tyler Huntley won the game at that point. No, I'm sorry. He was at the game at that point. So that's Lamar Jackson. And it is, I've said for years on Carving It Up that there's 3 quarterbacks I defend to the death. One I'm close to moving off of, but I'm still going to stay on the train. 3 I defend to the death, and I don't really know why I have to. One is Derek Carr, and I sort of understanding why I have to lately. I may have to replace Derek Carr with Brock Purdy. The second one is Dak. Don't get why I have to defend a guy who's going to finish second for the MVP and has dragged a bad franchise to multiple playoff appearances. And the first, above Dak, definitely above Carr and above Purdy, potentially, is Lamar Jackson, which makes the least sense to me why I have to defend this guy. What is there to have to defend? He's a league MVP. He's gotten better every single year of his career, literally. He comes in the NFL in 2018, takes over for I think they were a 3-5 Ravens team at that point, leads into the playoffs, but then loses to the Chargers And it's like, can he really beat you with his arm? Oh, yeah, he can beat you with his arm. All he does a year later is lead the NFL in completion percentage and touchdown passes. And wins league MVP, so he can beat you with his arm. But then they get blown out by Tennessee. Can he win in the playoffs? Well, the next year, he beats Tennessee in the playoffs. But can he play from behind, though? Well, he beats Patrick Mahomes in a come-from-behind win, and that's pretty hard to do. It's usually Mahomes who's doing the comebacks, not the guy against him. Okay? How about in 2022? Well, do the Ravens need him that much? I mean, he's asking for all this money, and his mom's negotiating the contract. And do they really need him that much? Is he really worth the, I say this in air quotes, trouble of the negotiations? Yeah, we saw the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. How'd they look? Barely averaged double digits and lost to Cincinnati in the playoffs. Close, by the way. You think Lamar being in that game wouldn't have made a difference? My guess is probably would have. He steps in this year, not fully guaranteed contract, but big contract, so he's got his money. He's with the franchise he wants to be with. He's with the coach and the teammates he wants to be with. They upgraded OC, bring in Todd Monken, kick Greg Roman out the back door, so to speak. They bring in Todd Monken, bring the receivers in, Odell and Zay Flowers. What a surprise. Oh, what a shock. Lamar's one of the last four quarterbacks standing. Again, I've said for the last few weeks, and I certainly maintain this, Mahomes, Burrow aside, there's no quarterback in football I want more than this guy. He has turned into not an elite thrower from the pocket, but a darn good one. He is objectively an elite thrower outside the pocket. Pro Football Focus graded him as the best quarterback in all of football throwing outside the pocket. We know what he can do with his legs. He's Michael Vick 2.0 in that regard. He's a great leader. He wins like 80% of his games. He's coachable. Again, gets better every year. Now he wins in the playoffs. Like, what more? Listen, if he doesn't get a Super Bowl this year, well, we look at it as, see, that's why Lamar's not good. That's your justification now? He's a running back. Remember that thing that was trending when the Ravens were destroying the Dolphins? Quarterbacky? Oh, he's not. There was that one host who said he's not quarterbacky, and that got trending. Even LeBron James was talking about it. At this point, if you are a doubter on Lamar, you don't necessarily have to have him as high as I do. I've got him third in the league. There's no reasonable argument. It doesn't exist that he's not a top 5 guy. And top 5 guys are like franchise changers. Are guys who you can win multiple Super Bowls with. Are guys who win multiple MVPs, which I don't know if you've heard. Lamar Jackson is the only multi-time MVP playing in the NFL right now. Rodgers is hurt, so we'll put him to the side. The other guy is the dude in Kansas City who's universally recognized as the best quarterback in football. If the Ravens lose to the Chiefs, it'll be highly disappointing. But will we look at it as, that's why Lamar's not good. And most people lose to Mahomes. By the way, I think the Ravens have the better team. They have a great chance to win. What are they favored by against Kansas City? What do we got? 3.5. Okay, that feels reasonable. That feels like a perfectly reasonable line. Curious what the betting experts say throughout the week. We'll see. But I don't know what more you need to see from Lamar. Well, he can't throw. Well, he's led the league in touchdown passes in 2019, and is the best quarterback in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus, throwing outside the pocket. He is the second coming of Michael Vick in terms of mobility. Even the haters would acknowledge that. He's coachable, and he's a great teammate, and he wins 80% of his games, and the Ravens make the playoffs every year that he is healthy. He's about to win a second MVP. Like, what more do you need to see other than a Super Bowl? And does him not winning, even if the Ravens don't win a Super Bowl this year, which I hope they don't, I'm a Steelers fan, but if the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl this year, is that, that's why he's not good? That's the knock now? It's pretty sorry knock, if I do say so myself. I'm just going to throw it out there. Got some comments here. Patrick, Lamar, lights, camera, action. Jackson has matured as well. Listening to him in his press conference saying they didn't play well in the first half, went out and dominated the second half. They, no question, did. And again, they're the better team. They're better than Houston. Houston, I picked Houston to beat Cleveland last week. They were, I was right. Didn't think they'd destroy Cleveland, but they did. I was very happy about that. I hate Cleveland. But listen, Houston's never been here before. Rookie coach, rookie quarterback. They were supposed to lose this game, and Baltimore's supposed to win. And Patrick, by the way, says here at 100, he's 1,000% right. Baltimore's defense, they've been the best defense in the league. Offensive line has been underrated. Offensive line is really good. Defense is just scary. Now, the secondary has some concerns, some things that I think Mahomes and the Chiefs can exploit if they get the opportunity to. But listen, Ravens, They were the best in basically all the categories that mattered. Best scoring defense in the NFL, most forced turnovers in the NFL, most sacks in the NFL. Everything important they did well. So, and Mike McDonald, who's the defensive coordinator, Aikman said it during the game for ESPN. I'm with him. I would be shocked if he's not a head coach in 2024. Shocked. If the Ravens retain him, look out. Because that guy's been, not to take credit away from the personnel, guys like Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, who's a monster, Clowney, those guys. But, man, McDonald's going to get a lot more interviews as time goes on. And we've only had 2 head coaches, I believe, hired thus far in the hiring cycle. There's still 6 jobs available. Be surprised if McDonald doesn't get one of those jobs. Obviously, Gerard Mayo to New England, and Antonio Pierce is retained by the Raiders. So, unless you're like, how are you a Steelers fan? Listen, I don't root for the Ravens. I wouldn't have been mad if they lost, but I have always been a Lamar Jackson guy. Like, I tend to gravitate. I don't know what this is. I tend to gravitate toward people. This is why, like, I'm a big Dak guy. That, and he's really good. This is why I gravitate towards people, or I don't know what it is. I gravitate towards people that are very underappreciated, underrated, overhated, not just in sports, but outside of it. I've always just gravitated because I'm like, man, why did they get the hate? Like, you look into it, like, why did they get all the criticism? Like some athletes is justified. Tua is a very good quarterback who is not elite. And the criticisms of Tua, size, arm strength, ability to play in less than 70-degree temperature, those are fair. They're fair. They're more than fair criticism. I think Tua is properly rated. I mean, if you think Tua is like bottom, if you think Tua is like in the top 20, you're underrating him. If you think Tua is in the top 7 or 8, you're overrating it a little bit. I think, by and large, I think he's properly rated around the 12th, 13th, 14th best quarterbacks. And Lamar's always seemed to be not just underrated, but overhated. That's been him his whole career. So shout out to him. Wish my Steelers would have taken a stab at him last year when he was, franchise tag by the Ravens. That'd have been nice. But hey, Kenny Pickett. I really hope the Steelers bring in a good OC. They just interviewed a guy from the Rams today, the passing game coordinator. So we'll see. Go Steelers. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. Of course, be sure to like, share, comment, and take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button. It helps the channel grow exponentially. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by Super Bowl 58. So if you have not subscribed, take a couple of seconds. Right down there, that big red subscribe button, that one right there. If you're on YouTube, hit it. You're part of the Carving It Up family. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. Cannot tell you what your support and appreciation means to me, and as well as to everybody involved with Carving It Up. Be sure to tell your friends about it, your family about it, everybody you know about Carving It Up Live to subscribe to the show, to support the show. We greatly, greatly appreciate it and hope we can deliver you the best content we possibly can. As well as, just as important, be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere you get your favorite podcast, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, any and everywhere you get your favorite podcasts. You can find us on the Grid Network, as well as the Grid Network's websites, where we got some fantastic articles by my man Patrick Brown, as well as on the audio side, some of the best content creators in the business. I know my man Devin, speaking of one of our content guys, I know my man Devin is on Cloud 9 right now. He's going to be all over me. I don't know if Devin's going to be on 8 o'clock spot tomorrow night. By the way, 8 o'clock spot tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. The best sports game show out there on the Grid Network's YouTube channel and Twitter account tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I am the host / moderator / judge of the show. So I will try to, to keep everybody reeled in, but it'll definitely be fun. We'll have some great contestants. So tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock spot, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on the Grid's YouTube and Twitter channel. There you go. All right. I will see you on Wednesday. 4-0 my picks, baby. 8-2 for the playoffs. I'm feeling really good about myself. Detroit Lions came through for me. What I said back in April, they are in the NFC title game. Let's go. Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to all the teams that won. I really hope Baltimore loses on Sunday. We'll see. But be sure, y'all, to stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. And please, please, please be sure to contact your local state representatives and senators to demand change for gun violence in America. This is a problem however you lean, we have got to address as soon as possible. Save as many lives as we can. Very, very important. All right. Great playoff weekend. 1 dud and 3 great games. And my guess is we're going to get 2 great games on Sunday. Niners are not blowing out the Lions. Come on. It's not going to happen. See y'all on Wednesday. Stay safe out there. God bless you all. Peace out. And Dan Campbell, take us out of here, buddy.
Kneecap. 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 Kneecap.
Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.